Today we're talking about how you could save up to 66,000 in your Cisco 401k. Did you know you could do that? Today we're going to show you how in a couple different steps. But remember, this is for informational purposes only. Tax planning advice is always best if it's customized for your situation. But we hope to give you a few pointers today you could look into. And if you want to go further or dive deeper, reach out to a professional. So Cameron, let's jump into how we walk through this with people and show them how this is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Cisco 401k plan. So generally you're thinking, okay, well, I've got a max I can do, which goes up annually typically, but a pre-tax portion and a Roth portion where you can do 22,500 and then 30,000 if you're 50 or older, and that's for 2023. So that's typically what you're thinking about when it comes to your 401k as far as what you can do. Now, Cisco also has the match of 4.5%. What we want to focus on today is how do we get beyond that, getting up to that 66,000 that we mentioned. And we're going to do that via the after-tax contributions, which is not available in all 401k plans, but as a Cisco employee, you do have that availability to contribute on an after-tax basis. And what that does is it allows for the monies to grow tax-free. So it's kind of like a Roth, but it is different. And here at the bottom, I did want to note, this is completely different from your Roth IRA, so that you may have at an outside custodian. That's the 6,500 or 7,500 at 50 or older. This is completely different. This is all about that Cisco 401k plan and separate from the Roth IRA. Because the Roth IRA has a income limitation, whereas the after-tax portion and the Roth portion in the 401k do not. So here's an example. So speaking of that income limitation, so somebody making 200,000 in this example at Cisco, what I've done is shown getting paid on a biweekly basis, so every 2 weeks. The first column is your typical pre-tax contribution amount, so that 22,500. The next column is the employer match, so 4.5% of 200,000. And then the third column is what's left. So how do we get to that 66,000? And that's the after-tax amount that we're focusing on today. So the ability that you have in the Cisco plan to do so is what's referred to as a mega backdoor Roth. So making these after-tax contributions. And then, so what you can do is figure out, if it's the beginning of the year, you got 26 pay periods, what percentage do I need to do of my salary to get these amounts? So 22,500 for pre-tax, and then you'll do whatever's left to the after-tax. So you can see at the very bottom, this scenario of 200,000, if you start at the beginning of the year, just over 11%, you got the 4.5% match, and then just over 17 for the after-tax portion. Now, if you start, say, in June, you'd have to alter these numbers in order to get there by year end. But generally, you want to spread out these contributions so that you max out later in the year. You don't front load it all in the beginning.
And you mentioned their plans at Fidelity, right? So we have some graphics here that show how you can go about adjusting this.
Yeah, exactly. And Cisco does a great job of allowing you to really customize this. And you can put, very specifically 11.2%, not just 11%, you can go to decimal points. So this is an example of, say you had 5% already. Well, you want to get it maxed out to the 66,000. We bump it up to 11.2 on your pre-tax. And if you look down on the left-hand side of the screen, you see after tax. That's where you put in that 17.2%. And you can do that with Cisco based on your normal regular pay, but you can also elect to put in a percentage on your bonus, or if you're in a sales role at your commission at Cisco. So that is nice as well. And of course, that's where it gets a little tricky though. So be checking in on this as you go throughout the year, because if you get a big bonus or a big commission, that's going to impact this. So if your regular salary is high enough, generally I just stick with that as far as putting my contribution elections there. You can do a small amount to the commission and bonus, but that is where it's very unique to your situation. So you want to be able to put in contribution rates that match up with what your particular income looks like and how that gets paid throughout the year. So putting in these elections cover this for you. If you're older than 50, you can, of course, do the catch up here on the right side as well. Now, with the Cisco plan, making these after-tax contributions, it'll go into the after-tax account. But what we want to occur is a in-plan Roth conversion. And there's no button to do this on the Fidelity website. Oftentimes you have to call. So calling into Fidelity to make sure it's just a one-time flip. Once you say, hey, just automatically convert those after-tax contributions to Roth, you're good to go from there on out. And that's what you want, so that those monies are growing tax-free.
So the next question that we'll often get after we talk through this and explain it with clients is, well, how is this going to affect my paycheck, right? How do I handle the lumpiness of my pay and when this is coming in? So let's talk through that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, as you can see, adding in some extra after-tax contributions to get to 66,000 does lower the pay a little bit. So be thinking about your financial plan. So, okay, in what years am I expecting higher income or lower expenses? For Cisco, you've got the RSUs, the performance stock as well, bonuses, commissions. So in those types of years, it may be easier to put in extra to this after-tax amount, whereas in years where you may have not that extra income, just more of your regular style, then you may need to pull back a little bit on those after-tax contributions. Just depends on your financial plan, on your situation. One other factor is, do you have outside monies besides your Cisco 401k? So if you have a decent sized brokerage account, theoretically, you could withdraw some from there to offset the lower take-home pay you're going to have by putting higher contributions to the Cisco 401k. So there are ways to kind of maneuver, and that's just a big tax planning strategy, to say, okay, how do I get monies that are going to be growing tax-free, but sustain my lifestyle as well? So something to consider is, don't just blankly put in these higher contribution amounts, revert back to your financial plan so that I can let you know how much you really can do.
Then a couple of other questions we'll get. What happens when I leave my employer? If I get laid off, and then what if I need the money? How can I access it, or how can I best use it if need be?
Yeah. So, with the Cisco 401k plan, while you're still working, generally that money stays there. But if you're no longer working with Cisco, you're retired or went to a different company, you can roll over this account, this 401k plan. So, and it's going to go to separate buckets, as we've kind of tried to show here with this pie graph, is the pre-tax portion you're used to doing, the employer match. That's going to be able to move over to a pre-tax IRA. That money has not been taxed yet. It's going to go to an IRA. Now, any Roth contributions or after-tax contributions that have gone into this plan, that would go to a Roth IRA. So two separate buckets if you were to roll over this plan. So in that way, the tax status of the contributions stays the same. But yeah, you're not going to be taxed on these after-tax contributions as long as you've set it up correctly. So that's what you're going to do if you ever leave and want to roll over the plan. After-tax contributions themselves can oftentimes be withdrawn. The contributions themselves can be withdrawn, not the earnings. But that is subject to the plan limitations, and that is subject to change. But most of the time, that can be accessed at any time.
So that is one opportunity that you may not have known about as a Cisco employee to build your tax-free savings in addition to what you're already doing. Now, we work with busy professionals here at Financial Symmetry every day, talking through a lot of other topics. Do you have enough insurance? How's your estate planning look? What is your investment strategy? How's that situated? Is it appropriate for where you are in life and where you hope to retire and to accomplish the goals you want to accomplish, along with other tax planning topics as well? So if you have other questions outside of this, or if you get into this and you just don't feel comfortable, reach out to us or someone in your area, and we'll be happy to assist. Thanks for joining us today.